What's up, Knucklehead? I am Lupine Fiasco, and this is your daily FaB gameplay. For anyone who's new to the channel, welcome to the jungle. What we do here is review replays of games that I played on the Talishar client days or weeks ago after enough time has passed that I lose my bias and can more objectively judge the quality of my play. I'll talk through turn cycles and give my thoughts on the line I would take now compared to the line I took then at the time of recording. We either learn from my mistakes or reinforce good play patterns with the overall goal of tightening and optimizing our gameplay in the future to take down paper events like the upcoming US Nationals and, most importantly, walk away with that shiny cardboard. If you would like to check out the deck I'm playing here or try it for yourself on Talishar, there is a FaB deck link available in the video description below. While you're down there, if you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to my channel. A YouTube subscription is the best free way to support me and to make sure that you see daily FaB gameplay in your video feed 5 days a week. The best paid way to support me is through Patreon, and a Patreon link is also in the video description. A Patreon subscription will get you access to the DFG Discord and the shiny cardboard Talishar card back. At higher tiers, your name will appear in every DFG video. You'll get bonus DFG content every week, and there are even more benefits to come. Daily FaB gameplay will always be free 5 days a week, so for those who can afford to patronize me, I truly appreciate it. Now, let's talk about our sideboard and about our game plan. Despite our proximity to missed fail release date, this is not the open format queue. Olympia will not be visiting the Golden Forge anytime soon, and we should just expect him to be bad Hatchets Dorinthia. We will choose to go first in this matchup. I really like going first against Warrior. They have good ways to leverage that turn one play, be it Goblet of Blood Red Wine, or just sending multiple attacks and trying to get grain activations. We are using the Olympia sideboard guide from my FaB list, and that involves Fiendal Spring Tunic rather than Savage Sash. I'm leaning towards this being incorrect, and the difference being that Sash can block a hatchet and prevent the hatchet from making a Vigor with Grains or giving the second hatchet additional power from Braveforge Bracer. I don't know if that's correct. Olympia can be a grindy hero, and with Olympia kind of being well positioned to go into multiple builds, if this is Great Axe Fatigue, we really want Tunic. This is going to be a very long game, and if you are using your Tunic every 3 turns when the activation becomes available, your Tunic is essentially worth 1 point of damage per turn every 3 turns. If you are able to work in a Mandible Claw, either from pitching a blue to attack with a Wild Ride, then using your Tunic to create that second resource for Claw, or maybe you pitch a blue to attack with Mandible Claw, then you discard a Wind-Up to give the Claw go again, and use your Tunic and the floating resource to play a 2 for 6. You can get really good value out of Tunic. Sash is less value over a long game, but more value all at once. You get your 2 points of block value plus anywhere from 6 to 10 damage by getting an additional 2 for 6 or even 2 for 8 if it's swing big on your turn, and add 2 to that if it's a Blood Rush turn. But if we are playing in a fatigue matchup and it's 20 or 30 turns long, we're going to get way more value out of Tunic. So I'm going to run Tunic here. Sash might be the play, but we will just be trying to get that Claw value. As far as which cards are in the deck, we are just running 68 here. Send Packing is in the sideboard. Warrior has a lot of armor. I'm not expecting to ever get Send Packing's effect, which means that it is a 3 for 6, and I really hate that. Swing Big does come in versus Olympia as well as Kasai. This is compared to Dorinthia, the difference being that Olympia can't really use the Go Again. He's got his Blade Runners and his Take It on the Chins, so we may be letting him arsenal a Go Again enabler rather than have to play it, but he can't use 2 instances of Go Again in the same turn. Most likely, maybe he's got a Command and Conquer that he can follow up the second hatchet with. But this is contrasted to Dorinthia, who is very often getting a 3rd hatchet swing because of her hero power. Olympia doesn't have the ability to give the hatchet an additional attack, so we're a lot less worried about Olympia getting that quicken. I called Olympia bad Dorinthia at the start of this little analysis. I stand by that just because he can't get that 3rd hatchet swing. And for the most part, he is going to be wagering and generating gold, but we don't really care about that. His wagers are all 1 for 3, which is below rate. If Olympia is making gold, maybe that's letting him fix a hand later, but it isn't equating to so much more damage that we can't just race it. We can decide if we want to try and prevent a wager from going through, depending on what our hand looks like. For the most part, if we are drawing Go Again, then we don't care about preventing his agility, or we don't care about giving up cards for hand to make a vigor by winning a wager. We are just playing that aggressive value game. Cast Bones does stay in, and we're going to try to line those up with Blood Rush Bellows or Bear Fangs, just ways to actually benefit from the agility. But at the very least, something like a Pack Hunt with Go Again is a great way to start a turn against a block-heavy deck like Warrior. So we can't submit deck, just jump right in, see how this all shakes out. This is an excellent hand to go first with. We could put our massive balls on the table and attempt to roll Scab Skins. I don't like doing that. For one thing, I am a coward. For another, let's stagger the Cast Bones. We don't need to have a massive turn 2 when we can instead have a very large turn 2 and turn 3. We're going to play a Cast Bones here, and there is a pretty strong argument for arsenaling the second Cast Bones so that we don't run the risk of getting it discarded to a Bear Fangs. Maybe that's correct. I am in the habit of arsenaling my non-blocks so that I can protect them against something like a Command and Conquer. Here we do, of course, have the option to overpitch. If we wanted to play this Bear Fangs, we pitch the Cast Bones and then a yellow Wild Ride. But I think for the most part, it probably is correct to arsenal Cast Bones here. We have armor to protect it from a Command and Conquer, and we just don't even have to worry about discarding it. We know that we have 2 blues on the top of our deck, which really influences our decision of how we are going to play out our next turn. I really don't want to block here if I can get away with it, and really the only thing that I would want to block is a Command and Conquer to protect my Bear Fangs. But this Hatchet a Body for 4, for one thing, it doesn't have Go Again, so I'm not terribly concerned about it. For another, I don't care if Olympia gets agility or vigor, gold, that's fine. We're going to have a massive turn. Let's talk about the decision to not overpitch Cast Bones. Because Bear Fangs has Go Again anyway, from the agility, I always like to play it risky here. For one thing, we have a 75% chance to discard something other than Cast Bones. And if we keep the Cast Bones, our turn is insane. We get to throw Bear Fangs for 14 with Go Again, work a Claw into the turn, and then play another Cast Bones. For another thing, if we do discard Cast Bones here, the Bear Fangs only hits for 12, but it still has Go Again. We would have this Wild Ride in hand to continue our turn. We know that we have hits on top of our deck. We would make our might from the Wild Ride. We would get our action point from the Wild Ride. And then we could follow up with a Swing Dig. So if I have guaranteed Go Again from agility, I like playing a lot riskier with my Cast Bones. As to why we drew a Beast Within when I thought we only had blues on top of our deck, that is because we still had the Swing Big in hand, so I just didn't hover over the third card that would have been on top of our deck because we only drew 3. Bear Fangs for 14 is incredible. We have a couple options of how we want to play out the rest of this turn. We could throw Swing Big for 8 and Arsenal Cast Bones, but I just like Mandible Claw for 3, pitch Beast Within, and then play Cast Bones, arsenaling the Swing Big. We have a Might, so we only need to reveal 5 hits from the top of our deck to make that agility. It's very likely that Swing Big is going to have Go Again. In fact, we do reveal 6 hits. So this Swing Big is, at the very least, 2 for 15 with Go Again, which is really, really balanced. Drawing into 4 blues is pretty unfortunate. Let's see, we have a yellow Wild Ride, and what else do we have? A Wrecker Romp. So a lot of garbage on top of the deck. If I could get away with not blocking, I would love to. What I would love to do here is Smash Instinct for 14 Go Again, get our Intimidate trigger, then follow up with Swing Big for 8, and discard Agile Windup to make Might and Agility. We don't get an Arsenal if we take this line, but nothing in my hand is anything I want to Arsenal anyway, so that's pretty good. Olympia is just going to come in with Runner to refresh that agility. Hatchet here very likely to give the Grains trigger. I think I don't mind blocking with Scabskin Leathers. It's unlikely that Olympia has a buff to get over the top of this, so we just have him burn a resource, and we are going to come in for 14 Intimidate Go Again, which is a great way to start that turn. A 4-card 22 here is pretty solid, and then of course we get our Agility, Agile Windup discard as well. We're feeling okay. Chaining these Cast Bones together has been fine for us. Choosing to attack with the Mandible Claw instead is good when I actually remember that I have a Fandel Spring Tunic activation. So here the Windup is going to give the Claw Go Again, we activate Tunic, and then we get to throw a Swing Big as well. Pretty solid turn cycle. And this is where we're getting that Tunic value, where Sash is 2 points at block value. We could potentially leverage that later. But we would have missed out on a Claw because we wouldn't have had the resources to work in a Claw and a Swing Big. We would have had to pick one or the other. Again, we have a turn where I really just don't want to block. We do have quite the life lead. Do I want to block with Flesh Bag here? The answer is probably not. Olympia is still going to have 2 floating resources and an action point to attack with a Hatchet and then use Grains as well. This is a situation where I'm pretty okay to just leverage my life lead. We have a 4-card hand. We're going to have action points. I have the Wild Ride. I can pitch a Wrecker Romp and really hope to discard this Beast Within. So I really don't mind just taking all of this damage, letting Olympia use whatever this card in hand is. Probably can't use hand and Arsenal. We'll see. Goblet, Brave Forge, second Hatchet, all good. We'll take another 4. Olympia sets up that big 5-card hand, but we've got some heat coming Olympia's way. We're going to hope that we can get our Beast Within discard, and we're just keeping up the pressure. We do get a Beast Within activated trigger. Unfortunately, we do banish a Cast Bones, so we take an extra point of damage and lose out on that Cast Bones play. So a little unfortunate there. Getting a 2-card 7 value block out of Olympia, all good with me. How do I want to play out the rest of this turn? I'm good with pitching Wild Ride for Mandible Claw and then coming in with the Run Roughshod. 8 more damage this turn, and we arsenal a runner. Alternate line, one that I actually like a lot better is Mandible Claw runner. We get 1 more point of damage, and we put some Go Again into the arsenal as opposed to just a 2 for 6. So good catch there. More value this turn, and something a little more relevant in the arsenal. Pushing big damage onto Olympia, drawing into some decent stuff here. Hatchet of Body coming in for 2. Olympia already has the Go Again. I don't particularly see the need to block this as opposed to the next Hatchet with my Clash of Agility. We don't really even need the agility from Clash here. We have that Wild Ride in Arsenal, but if I can get block value out of Clash, that's pretty good too. Here we just have Hatchet coming in for 3, checking out any kind of reactions from Olympia. What I have to play around here, there isn't a ton, honestly. Olympia can't leverage Go Again here because he isn't Dorinthia. He doesn't have a way to give these Hatchets an extra attack this turn. There are not enough resources for something like Glint the Quicksilver into Command and Conquer. This may be an attack that I want to block with Clash just to get agility, but at the same time, I've got the Wild Ride. I might just keep a 5-card hand and take 3 here. Blocking with Clash and Flesh Bag. The Flesh Bag block is to play around up the ante from Olympia's arsenal. If he was able to pitch a blue into up the ante, he would be able to, or even a yellow into up the ante, he would make Might, Agility, Vigor, Agility, Gold, +3 power to the hatchet, and an additional gold from Olympia effect. At the time, I remember this feeling like a really sick play, and now that I'm watching it back, I just don't care. I mean, Olympia gets all of that, and I just have a 5-card hand with some real juice in it, so I don't see that this was particularly important. And even with agility, what am I doing here? I guess it's going to be swing big into Wild Ride into Mandible Claw. The reason to lead with swing big being that I don't want to discard it to Wild Ride at the same time with a Bear Fangs on top of the deck. We couldn't have known that going into the turn cycle, but really it would have worked out either way. So we are still going to throw some heat. I mean, this is 9, 15, 18, 19 points of value from a 4-card hand. It's really, really juiced. It's a great turn cycle. I just don't see that it was necessary to burn Flesh Bag on this. We have such a huge life lead that there is an argument to say, let's really press that advantage. Let's not Olympia get that footing. But at the same time, I mean, who cares? We have the life to give. We can hold on to the Flesh Bag for when Olympia does something gross. If he can, maybe he draws a cash in and puts a huge turn cycle together, but we're all good. We're going to have that Tunic activation up, so we can look to Mandible Claw, discard Windup, use Tunic for Bear Fangs. We are going to hold on to an Agile Windup, just in the hope that we either arsenal it or that we draw a 2 for 6 red that we get to arsenal instead. Because we are turning on Kayo's value already, I mean, discarding second Windup doesn't do anything for us. Second agility doesn't matter. We do land ourselves in a bit of a bad spot as we discard that Windup and draw into a Wrecker Romp. I'm far enough ahead in this game that I feel okay arsenaling the Wrecker Romp, but in general, this is not a good card to put into your arsenal. It probably is the only blue in my deck that I don't want to put into arsenal because it is just a 3-card 7. It is really bad. Itself the blue or yellow we need to pitch for it, and then another card to discard. It can pair nicely enough with agility. If we have Tunic up, that we get to work a Mandible Claw in as well. And then potentially follow the Claw up with something else. The Claw will have go again, but in general, Wrecker Romp is just not a card I ever want to play. Let's talk about whether I want to block this 6 or not. We do have agility, we won't have Tunic, but I think it's totally fine to just keep 4 cards here. We will just play 4-card Blood Rush with Go Again and try to put this game away. There isn't a good line here where we can get Wrecker Romp out of our arsenal to put this Blood Rush in its place. We are just taking a chance that we don't need to take. So what we can do with this hand is play out our Runner, refresh that agility, and then depending on what Olympia's blocks look like, we either play the Command and Conquer and keep that Wrecker Romp in arsenal, or we play the Wrecker Romp, discarding our Command and Conquer to get 2 more damage into the turn, as well as get that Wrecker Romp out of the arsenal. So 8 damage here from Wrecker Romp, just looking really nice. Olympia is not dead. If he gives us all of his armor and card from hand, he goes to 1. Gallia is destroyed. Grains is destroyed. Dynamo cannot reset. We do have our agility, and so we are going to be able to just put this game to bed with Clash of Agility into Riled Up. The break point on Clash being very important. If Olympia has a sink below and then 3 more 3 blocks, he can survive the turn, but does not look like that's going to be the case. So we'll just put this game to bed after a pretty impressive showing from our deck. 2 cast phones back-to-back right at the start of the game that paired very nicely with what we had in hand, that being a Bear Fangs, and then a red Smash Instinct was an incredible way to start the game. Pretty solid Blood Rush Bellow. I can't exactly complain. 5-card 16, 5-card 17 is not really where I want to be, but you know what? We got an agility out of it. We were able to convert 5 cards into offense, and that is just fine with me. So, I don't know that we exactly learned anything from this game. I will say that we were getting full Tunic value, so I feel really good about Tunic and not Sash in this game, but I don't know if that's going to be the case all of the time. I hope you enjoyed this game. I hope you learned something. If so, be sure to assault and batter that like button. My comments are always open for any questions or feedback. If you haven't already done so, please consider a YouTube subscription. It's free, it helps me out, but no matter what you do, catch me back here tomorrow for more daily FaB gameplay. And until then, take care.